box set. It seems like a modern phenomenon, but what has changed the television series into the box set? I think it's addiction. I think it's binge watching. We've called this video, we've put Netflix in the title, but it's more than Netflix. You've all done it. 8 o'clock. You think, I'm gonna check out that new thing. You start to watch it. 9 o'clock. You think, I'll have another one of those. 10 o'clock. Before you know it, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. You're 4 or 5 episodes in. You're thinking, I've got work tomorrow. Shall I just one more? Yeah, I will. You know that's got to be a special program, Geo, that's making you knackered for the next day at work, my friends.
How many, though? How many have you come across, do you think, off the top of your head, that you have done that, though? There's some that you watch 2 or 3 and think, okay, that's enough. But there is some where you do push it, don't you? You push the limits a little bit.
I think when it was a new thing, I think my first ever recollection of a box set, which is basically not having to wait until 8 o'clock every Wednesday to watch something. You've got the ability to watch one after the other. My first ever recollection of that, I couldn't even include in this. It was Star Trek Voyager, and I was staying at a rented house. Me and a few mates, we all rented a house together, and the landlord had all these VHSs. It was Star Trek Voyager. So I do remember watching one after the other, after the other, after the other. There wasn't an awful lot else to watch, to be honest with you. The first ones I remember being really big, though, were Lost and 24. There seems to be a point in time where I do remember staying up until late at night watching those ones in particular, in answer to your question. And I don't seem to remember an awful lot that came before that where you could, just do one after the other after the other.
Yeah, Lost and Dexter were my two. They were my original box sets. I think Dexter was, possibly before Lost for me, actually. I sort of come across it by mistake on TV, and I watched an episode and I realised it was like series 3 episode 4, and I thought, okay, what about the other ones? And I went to Blockbuster and got all the DVDs of box set 1, box set 2, and then I was like, oh hello. Then by the time I finished that, box set 3 was out and stuff, and then that was my first box set. But yeah, Netflix tonight, it's not necessarily, everything's not necessarily on Netflix, it's just a rule of thumb, isn't it? It's the most popular streaming service. So what we're going to do, how are we going to do this? Any idea?
Well, we'll just tell the subscribers what we said to each other, which was basically to pick 5, and then we talk about them. What I found when I was picking the 5, I mean, there's more videos in this, Joe, is all I can say. By the time I got to 15, I was thinking, hold on, this is getting a bit silly. And then I actually went on Google and said, most popular ever box sets and most popular, and it brings up other things, most popular ever series, and you're bringing everything up. I mean, there are lots. I'd actually forgotten more than I'd remembered of good things. Oh yeah, no, that was excellent. But just before we go into listing them, it's funny that we both touched on Lost, because I didn't realise quite how bad Lost was until relatively recently. And it was when basically my wife said, I never watched Lost, I'm going to go and watch that. And she put it on. I thought, oh my goodness, this is bad.
It's what really, really. The storyline or the graphics or what?
I think the premise, the storyline of Lost was. I think we can do a spoiler on Lost now, can't we? I think them crash landing on an island, having to survive on an island, and it all becoming a bit weird. I'd quite like the premise. I think for a story, that's very good. But it was just, it was just everybody that crashed. It just seemed to be following a real rigid format. Which there's a good looking girl, there's a good looking guy. There were 4 or 5 characters. You had the big guy with the sort of permed hair, and it was very evident early on none of those people are going to die, and their characters are not really going to change. The good guy stays the good guy. Whereas you looked at it, and it was the same with 24, which I'm sure as you know, because I know you liked Designated Survivor. What was it? I can't remember what his name was now. Jack Banner? No, something like that. Jack Bauer, I think his name was. Something like that. He was never going to die. And I think there was a very, very clear point in time. I think it was sort of Game of Thrones, Walking Dead time, where they started messing with your mind. So without... You know, like an EastEnders moment? EastEnders will wait until the end of the show.
Cliffhangers.
And then... Yeah, absolutely. Walking Dead and Game of Thrones have messed with your mind. Halfway through a nondescript episode, not at the end or anything like that, bang, they'll kill off a main character. You think, what? You can't kill off the main guy. Oh, he's dead. Or she's dead. They're gone. And when I look back now and I see those old ones, I think, you're still following that rigid format of cliffhangers. The good guy stays the good guy. The good guy doesn't die. The other thing that the modern shows do, they'll have a really bad guy and you think, I hate him, he's nasty. They do start doing some good stuff. Let's start mucking with your mind. And the nasty guy might turn around and start being generous and save someone's life. And hold on, this is messing with my brain. I'm not meant to like Cersei Lannister, but now I feel sorry for her. It's just, it's funny how it goes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I struggle with Lost. It's not one of my 5. I struggle with Lost a little bit because there's a bit of sci-fi involved in it. Do you know, with the whole fog in the jungle or the forest or whatever. And I struggled with that because I don't like sci-fi at all. So when that started getting involved, it sort of I used to be like, not this bit again. When it was just the characters, I was into it and that, but then the sci-fi bit would start interfering, and then when it got to the very end, it was series 7 or something. It was just ridiculously stupid. The fog was now grabbing people and dragging them into a hole, and I thought, right, okay, I've had it now. I've just completely had it with Lost. But anyway, I don't know what your 5 is, and you don't know what my 5 is. We might have one or two that we've both watched. Hopefully we will, for the sake of discussion. But
I reckon we got one.
How do you know that without knowing what I've got?
You've just said you don't like sci-fi.
Okay.
We've had discussions before, and I know you've not watched Game of Thrones, which is on mine. So I think.
Well, where do you want to start then? Would you like to pick one? Pick one that I haven't watched.
Well, I'm gonna sell it. Okay, well, I'm gonna start with what I think is possibly the best television series ever made, which is Game of Thrones, which is an epic blockbuster. And it's quite funny because people that don't watch Game of Thrones will say, it's just tits and dragons, isn't it? And I've always said, well, that's a bit like saying, football's just a bunch of blokes kicking around a bag of air. Nando's, just chicken and chips, isn't it? You can break anything down to its most basic common denominator, and it doesn't explain the attraction. So it's not just tits and dragons, although that plays a major part. And I would tell you that the dragons don't have breasts. I think they're all male. I think all the dragons are all male. Probably udders. Does a dragon have udders? I don't know. We're drifting on this. Geo, it is political, it's engrossing, and people don't. What I find when people watch box sets or whatever you want to call them is people don't realise they're watching a soap opera. All right, it might not be Phil and Ian Beale slapping each other about and all that business or whatever the case may be, but you are tuning in to a soap opera, and that was as good as any to keep you. It was betrayal, it was jealousy, it was murder, it was lust, it was battles, epic battles, a bit of magic. So you probably wouldn't have liked it with the old dragons. Not quite it. Yeah, not quite sci-fi, but I'm guessing if you don't like sci-fi, you don't like any type of magic at all. It's quite low magic. I wouldn't say it's full of magic. A lot of the magic in it is explosive and poisons and things like that. And the one sort of, there's a few characters that can do magic, but not many. The most weird thing is probably...
I count the dragon as like sci-fi, as mythical, isn't it? So for that, I just can't do it.
I can see that, but in the main, it could be 15th century Britain. The dragons play a very small part in it. It's just absolutely brilliant. The geezer that wrote it, I think, is a genius, George R. Martin, albeit a sex-mad genius, because there's a lot of hanky-panky in there. There's a lot of naughtiness. I just think it's absolutely fantastic, and it was universally popular for a very, very good reason. But any of these that you do will not have universal acclaim. What was the most popular one on your list, do you think, has been the biggest?
Popular? Prison Break. I think that's probably number 2 on my all-time favourite series ever. I think Prison Break was just... It's well thought out. The characters are fantastic. The characters are a big part for me. I almost want to like the characters. Not just like the characters. I want to feel that I like them. I want to feel hatred for certain people. I want to feel disappointment. If things don't go the way I want them to go when I'm watching it, I want to feel... And it's not to say it's a bad decision that they've made. It's just because I'm disappointed for the character. Almost, I've bought into the whole character and the plot so much. I don't know. I just get hooked on it. In Prison Break, I got really hooked on from the start. I mean, the intro to it doesn't look amazing. It's like a drone footage of a a stranded prison. It doesn't look fantastic when zooming in. Then when it starts and the way he's got the prison, he's got his body tattoo and he's got all these plans in tattoos on his body. I think, genius. But then, he's coming up with all these bits. He's got everything well thought out, and I just think it's just clever. Everything is just clever. But I also like to think, and this ties into the Game of Thrones thing, I like to, wherever I watch or play games or whatever, it's got to be realistic by rule of thumb, i.e. it can actually happen. So Game of Thrones for me cannot happen because of said dragon, okay? Prison Break can't happen. I think it can. It could happen. It's probably inspired people to try something as stupid as that, and they've ended up in prison because they can't get out again because they think, I'm going to go in there with a plan to get out, and they go in and they can't get out again. Prison Break was number one for me for such a long time, and it's only just been knocked off its perch with something else on my list. Have you watched it? You watched Prison Break?
I've never seen it.
Oh.
And I'll tell you, no, I know, and I've heard, I understand. Look, you obviously are aware that millions of people love Game of Thrones.
Yeah, of course. I think Game of Thrones is the most popular series ever.
Yeah, it's not escaped my attention that lots of people think Prison Break is fantastic. I see it. How often you've been on social media and someone say, I need something to watch, and people write lists down. I always see it on there. I think the reason I didn't ever watch it was it almost looked a bit too chiseled for me. I think I saw the thing. I saw the two good-looking guys on the thing, and I thought, hold on, you meant to look like a scruff. I want to. Basically, remember we watched the Tiger King the other day.
Yeah.
But old Joe Exotic's. Basically, Joe Exotic and his husband, the one with no teeth, the hillbilly, the redneck, right? Yeah, that's how I expect my prisoners to look, right? I wanted the two guys to look like Joe Exotic and a geezer with no teeth.
One of
right?
them,
I'm thinking,
hang on a minute, too. Michael is the character's name. Michael isn't a prisoner, though.
Oh, right. Well, see,
he goes in. I don't mind saying this bit because it's obvious from episode 1, series 1. His brother's in jail and he's on the death sentence, so he's due to be executed. He's due to be killed in the chair. So he basically gets himself sent to prison in order to break his brother out. So Michael isn't a prisoner. He's not meant to be in jail. He's gone in there, get his brother out, and he's a genius. Michael's a genius. He's like an engineer, if you like. He's got the brains, and he goes in, and his brother's very much the brawn. His brother's the Hulk hench guy, and so he goes in to get the henchman out. And there's a few ugly characters that come along, looking and mindset, and that's what makes the show fantastic. It's just that it's got a good mix of characters in there. Prison Break is just unbelievable. I think the last series was a little bit disappointing, but I think they should have left it. It ended on a high, and they should have just left it be. But they came back for one last series to try and resurrect what was a finished series and give it one last go. It didn't quite work for me. Still enjoyed it, but it was just a bit too far.
Yeah. I think. Do you know what? I definitely judged the book by its cover on that. I just saw two fellas on there looked like they had more business. I don't know, exfoliating and doing Gordon Ramsay's latest recipe from his book, and they did being in a nick and being naughty geezers. Do you know what I mean? I totally what you say though about it going one series two. I mean, they're not the only ones guilty of that.
No.
A series I love is Walking Dead, but I would say, I mean, it might be on its 8th or 9th. I would say to people, look, watch the first 3 or something like that, and then walk away. Because I think a lot of programs do have a habit of, and the thing is, what else? I think this is true. And maybe when we finish doing these videos, we might have stumbled across a formula, maybe make our own one. I joke, of course, but you said about. I can't remember exactly what you said, but it was almost like you were invested in the storyline.
Yeah.
You were invested in the characters. I think you said cared.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really true. Because what you've got to do, it doesn't matter, it's not just a box set, it's a film, it's a book or whatever. You've got to make someone interested in the characters of what's going on. You've got to buy into the character that you're watching on the screen. And as you know, at the moment, I'm sort of watching Better Call Saul.
Yeah. And
you've watched it all, haven't you?
I've not watched much because I can't get into it. I'm struggling to get into it.
Okay. Well, I really liked the first couple of series, and obviously the main character is Jimmy, who plays in Breaking Bad, plays Saul Goodman, and he's the same character in this. He just hasn't become Saul yet. And it got to a point, I actually said to her about the missus and said to her the other night, I'm not sure I can carry on much with this anymore. And she said, well, I said, I don't really care much for Jimmy. I said, he's become quite annoying. He's done a couple of things that are quite bad, but he's not a really good guy, and he's not a really nasty guy. And I'm sort of losing interest in his storyline. I almost don't care what happens to him anymore. I just think it's funny when you said that. I think it's very important that you care what happens to the people, and that means on both sides. You want the people that you've grown attached to survive, and you want the people that you don't like to perish. And that's where a good writer can muck you right up and switch it all around. And be, oh no, don't kill him. And it's interesting.
What's your next one? You've done Game of Thrones. I've done Prison Break. See, I've got my character. The rule of thumb is why I've got number one, but I want to keep that to the end. The viewers will know what it is because it's in the title, and you had a graphic on your screen before we started, but Gonzo doesn't know what the graphic is, so
no. No, well, my next one I've gone for Life on Mars.
What is that?
Oh, I mean, I just think it was absolutely groundbreaking. I mean, clearly, you say, what is that? There'll be loads of people watching this saying, what is that? But I'll tell you what, there'll be loads of people that watch this say, actually, that was brilliant. And it was absolutely brilliant. I think if you're my age, it's particularly good because it's basically a time. He travels back in time, but I'm not talking like Doctor Who or anything like that, because you're not sure he has travelled back in time. Actually, there's a large part of it where thinks actually he might have just bumped his head and be in a coma. And what happens is he's a detective. He's a detective in Manchester, and he goes back to Manchester. He basically either goes back in time. He has a fall, as I remember, and he goes back in time to the 70s. And so he's got all this modern knowledge of the modern police force and all the rest of it. And he gets propelled back in time. It's John Sims. You know John Sims?
No, I'm not good with actors' names. Though.
It's got a lot of people that you'd recognise. Very, very good. The music's really good as well. It's called Life on Mars after the David Bowie song. So I think for me it was very nostalgic. It's all the old cars from when I was a kid, and he drives an Audi Quattro and all the rest of it. And they go and solve crime. It obviously it's not politically correct at all. Everyone's smoking in the buildings and all the rest of it. And he is what do they call the people? Like I said, like metrosexuals. They call them metrosexuals, don't they? Modern man, he exfoliates. He does all this. So he's very much a metrosexual man who's been drawn back in time to a place where, it was the time of a man's man, and just very, very clever writing. You never knew where it was going to go, and you had a real investment in the characters at all. And actually, it was a crime drama. Each week, they would have to solve a new crime, with a bit of time travel thrown in there. Life on Mars, a cracking show.
I've got my curveball one. You ready for my curveball one? You've heard of it. I've told you to watch this. I don't know if you have. Unabomber.
Struggled, mate.
Did you? Well, see, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It's a bit different because it's based on a true story. It's a drama about a true story, and this is why I sort of got into it, because you're sort of learning a little bit about something that has actually happened. But it's on Netflix. It's not really popular on Netflix. It's not. So whenever someone asks me for something to watch, Unabomber or something, I always give them early on because I know there's a good chance that they've not actually watched it. But it's long story short, it's about a man in America who people don't know who it is. He's sending bombs through the post, hence the name Unabomber. But because it's so far back in time, forensics is minimal. They don't have anything to go on. They can lift fingerprints and that's about it, but your fingerprint then has to be in their database, and if it's not in their database, they don't know who you are. But this guy was leaving no clues whatsoever till one bright spark in the police just latched on to how to catch him out. Without going into it too much, I don't want to spoil it for the viewer because I'm.
Well, I think you could say he was a psychologist. He was the first person to bring psychology into crime solving.
Yeah. So then, but it's just the way he goes about capturing, like finding out who it is, and the fact that I don't know. It's almost like a hero story because do you know how his first idea. His ideology was like poo-pooed in general by the police. They said, "Oh no, that'll never work. This is how we do it," and they stuck to their old-fashioned ways, if you like, and this guy continued to work on his own. Then he had a breakthrough moment, and he had one or two people with him who sort of believed in him, and they worked together to find him. And I just thought the whole thing was fascinating. That's one series I watched. I think there's only like 7 episodes. There's only ever one series, obviously. I think there's maybe 6 or 7 episodes. I must have watched them within 24 hours, the whole thing. I was just fascinated by it. I just kept watching it, and kept watching it, and kept watching it. Now the thing is, I kind of guessed what was going to happen. I guessed what the conclusion was. But like when you sit down to watch the Tiger King, you already know what's going to happen on the last episode, but you want to see the path, you want to see the journey. For a different reason, Tiger King's just stupid and with stupid people, so that draws you in. But this was just, I was just fascinated by the cleverness of one man, or you could say the cleverness of two people. The mindset of the bad man, and the cleverness of the second man, to intertwine them. Oh, I loved it. It had me hooked on. Honestly, get me to hospital, inject that stuff into my veins, because I was a big fan of that Unabomber. Loved it.
Do you know, I mean, I think I got into 3 episodes, so I did try. I think it goes back to our formula. I'll tell you where it really lost me. The main guy, the detective, the psychologist, the one that was trying to convince him.
I think I know what you're saying. Are you going to talk about his personal life?
Not his personal life, no. But I found him as a character a bit too introverted. The actor's a good actor. I've seen him in other things. Funny enough, my son was watching a Terminator thing the other day, and he was on Terminator. But his character, he was very quiet. He was very unassuming. He was a man of few words. I get that, and I do understand that everybody's not like that. But I mean, as someone there wasn't enough big personalities in there to grab me for long enough.
But it's based on a true story, though.
Oh yeah, sure.
So if the copper that was behind all this was a quiet person, I sort of expect the character to remain to give a true reflection, or an accurate as possible reflection. I'm aware it's not accurate, because it even comes up at the start saying we've dramatised some of it. But like when you watch Narcos, it's not accurate. You've thrown an extra few bullets in there and an extra grenade in there just for a little bit of entertainment. So they could have changed it up. I don't want to change it so much it becomes unrecognisable by the past. I thought you were going to talk about his personal life, because I found that bit quite boring. All the police stuff was juicy stuff. Then we go back to his home life, and I was a bit like, I want back to the juicy stuff, please. I felt like I had to watch a lot of the wipe stuff, if you like, in order to get to the juicy bit. But overall, it's a fantastic series.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind people inventing characters, particularly on a non-historic, on a historic event. If you've got to juice it, you've got to do that. You've got to mix a bit of fiction with facts. I just finished reading a book which is about basically about Henry VI losing France, and the author at the end said, "Look, okay, I had to invent this character. There's no record of this character ever existed, but I'm sure there must have been some manipulative mind behind it. Also, I've just invented someone." Okay, crack on, mate. Crack on. I enjoyed it. He was a right piece of work, the manipulative character. So it makes the story all the better, mate. Right, you want another one from me, didn't you?
Yeah, and not the one that you think I've got. Go for your third one.
Okay, I'm going to go with Spooks, which I just thoroughly enjoyed. And funny enough, you mentioned Blockbuster Video earlier. I remember going to Blockbuster Video and getting the thing. My only gripe was they never gave you long enough to watch it. But I think they were just under the assumption that you were going to binge watch it. So maybe I wasn't watching that until 2 a.m. Found it absolutely fantastic. And in terms of a show that was not American, a spy show that wasn't American, it wasn't FBI, it wasn't CIA, it wasn't DEA or whatever it is, wasn't any of that stuff. It was set in London, so it was landmarks that I recognised. They were having to operate within the parameters of the law, so they weren't allowed to run around with big guns like you see on US shows and all the rest of it. It was very undercover, and they were spies. And every week they would basically try and foil a plot to do something nasty to the UK. And I just thought it was very, very clever, very well acted. Slick, just a really, really slick. And actually, it was a toss-up between that and one that was on at a similar time called Hustle, which was about grifters, which was absolutely fantastic as well. But Spooks, they did stop it at the right time, so much so they left you wanting more. When they stopped Spooks, I thought, one of those. When you've watched something good, you think, what am I going to watch now?
I watched some of their episodes, not all of it. I've not watched all of it. I certainly didn't do like chronicle. I did not do it in any sort of order or anything like that. But I remember watching a few of the episodes just here and there. when it was on telly, actually, and it was repeats that was on the TV as well, hence why I couldn't follow anything. But yeah, it was good. It was good enough for my sort of minor entry.
No, I think they did stand on their own, actually, to be fair.
Yeah.
You know, there was an ongoing story, but it wasn't so much to put the casual viewer off. You could watch, and one episode would be about basically someone trying to, I don't know, blow up Tottenham Court Road Station. You could just watch an hour on its own, I
don't know what one to pick next. See, I wrote down a few, but there's a couple I've got on here that I want to keep for maybe in the next episode, because I know we've both seen. What's the one that you've got that we both like? What's the one that you put?
Breaking Bad?
Yeah, we'll go with that one then. We'll go with that one. Because I've got someone here that I know you've watched, but we'll keep them for next time, like Ozark. But that's a bit like... It's nice that, because it's currently on Netflix, new series.
And I can't. So I've not watched the third series. Yeah. Cheers, mate. I'd rather not.
Killing Eve as well, because Killing Eve's new series is just round the corner.
Well, that is a good one to talk about. I mean, it's really good. There's so much good stuff. There really is. But I mean, the Breaking Bad will go down as an all-time classic. It just has to. It's so very, very good. You do care about the characters. Are we allowed to give? Are we?
Yeah,
is this a spoil?
Yes.
Are we all right?
Yeah, we're spoiler free for Breaking Bad.
You're so with him, and then he's responsible for Hank's death, and you think, oh, Walter. Man. Come on. That was bad. That was sad. Because you buy into him. That's good writing. I bought into Hank. Hank's a good guy. I love Hank. Hank is a good guy. I never liked his wife throughout it. Even you didn't like his wife, did you?
Which one? Hank's one or?
No. Hank's wife she got caught stealing and stuff. It was quite. I was trying to imagine her. No. Walter's wife. I like the son, but the wife. I just found the wife was. By the end of it, she had a lot to deal with because he turned into a very, very bad guy. But before he turned into Heisenberg, I didn't think she was a particularly nice woman. There's just so much to admire about that show. I mean, I think it might have been one of the early series where he concocts that bomb, and then just he walks into the meeting sort of thing and does it. It is just so well done, and it's actually sustaining me that little bit. It's when I mentioned Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
The reason I'm still watching it is not because of him anymore. I'm watching it because of Mike, because Mike is just class.
Yeah.
And I can't remember his name, the Cuban, because at the moment they're about to build that underground, whatever you'd call it, pharmacy, that basic underground drugs factory, which you see in Breaking Bad. They're building it at the moment, so I think it ties in. Breaking Bad, the characters are just spot on, the storyline's spot on. How you've got to be a really good writer to make chemistry in the back of a mobile motorhome in the back of a Winnebago interesting. I just even the little things like the keys not being in the ignition, just really, really good writing, Geo. Fantastic.
Yeah, Walter and Jesse are chalk and cheese as well, which works. I like the story that's like teacher and student at the start, as in the classroom, and it continues to be teacher and student all the way through outside the classroom, and then it almost changes a little bit. Jesse becomes teacher and Walter becomes student about the streets, if you like, about the selling the product, about protecting yourself. Jesse then teaches Walter, and I just think the whole student-teacher thing is a theme that just keeps on coming and changing. And I actually quite like the son, Walter's son, he has a disability and stuff, he doesn't quite understand things, and he's quite emotionally triggered or whatever, and I quite like that. It was a really good character. It was almost like a brave character put into the show, because it can be quite hard to reflect that person's true personality. But I think it's brilliant. Thing is, it wouldn't be my top 5, for example. It would probably be my...
Oh, really?
No, I don't know why. I think... I don't want to say it's not intense enough. Maybe it was too long for my liking or something. I'm not sure. I think it was maybe just a bit too... I don't know, like... Some points that happened, like when they were cooking the meth and stuff, and you just thought, oh, right, okay, as if that could happen. Whether it's one of them getting captured for about a week, he just goes missing, and Hank is a DEA officer and doesn't notice anything whatsoever. I do think some of it's a bit too, like, yeah, okay. But in terms, I enjoyed it, thoroughly recommend it. It would have made my top 5. Top 20, yes, but not quite the upper echelons of my Geo list, if you like.
but you put it in this list of 5.
Yeah, I did because I want to put in. When I was doing my 5, I thought I need a couple of current ones that we don't reveal the spoilers of. We'll be very careful not to put the spoilers out, but it's topical. But a couple of classics in there that everybody's seen, so we can be spoiler free and just chat about it, kind of thing. And then maybe put a curveball in there, which was my Unabomber.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I Breaking Bad, just absolute top quality. There will always be people who don't like it, and in the same way that but it was just such a massively popular show, and I do think 90% of people that watch it will really like it, and will think it's one of the best things that they've watched.
So you've got one thing on your list. Don't tell me you just got one, yeah?
Yeah.
I've got 2, so I'll go with my second last one, which is Suits. Have you seen Suits?
No.
No, why not?
I don't. Do you know what? Look, you're a man of likes to talk about customer service and enticing the customer in. I am. I guess I do. I guess if this is demonstrating anything, I do judge things by their cover. I think the name Suits didn't draw me in. I think I looked at it, and is it sort of set back in the 60s or 70s or something like that?
No.
What am I thinking of? Then I might be thinking of something else.
You might be thinking of Mindhunter, maybe.
No. I do. Yeah, I know.
Suits,
I don't know what you mean.
Suits is very recent. Suits is very, very, very recent, and it's about a top law firm.
Yes.
In America, and they've got one of the best closers, I guess, in the world, essentially. And he's got a big ego, good-looking chap, the pretty boy, but he knows he's pretty, he knows he's good at his job. And then Mike comes along and stumbles into his job of almost like his undergrad, but he's not registered. He's not on the bar. So they take him on. Yeah. But Mike is a genius. Mike's memory is something you've never seen before. And so they have to keep that secret, but at the same time, they start kicking some ass. But Suits is a feel-good... It's a very laid-back thing. There's not much intensity there. You can watch it. It's a bit like it's male and female thing. There's no action in that. You can watch it with your partners. You can settle down and watch it. It's a good feel-good thing. You've also got Rachel, who's now famous for who she married rather than what she's done in the show. That's Megan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Megan's in Suits. She plays Rachel, and she's in it from the start to the finish. Well, not the last series, because then they had to take her out of it because she went and married what's his face, and then
Harry, yeah.
Before they moved, yeah. So she was a way of doing that. So then they had to make the last series without her in it. But it's just fantastic. They get rid of a couple of the main characters. They get rid of. They don't die. They just get rid of. There's a guy in there called Lewis who is just phenomenal as a character. The person that plays him he's just brilliant. So it's Harvey and Mike are they're the front of Suits, but Lewis is just unbelievable as a person. I think you should watch it. I think you might enjoy Suits.
Yeah. Look, Geo, you have recommended 2 or 3 things to me. I mean, Ozark in particular. I did. You recommended that, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. That has been,
definitely put Suits on. You'll be able to watch it with Mrs. Gonzo as well. It's a thing you can watch together. It's really, really good.
She watch anything, mate. She don't care. She likes Game of Thrones. She likes Walking Dead. She's Breaking Bad. She's good as gold. It ain't got to be, to
get the Suits on.
Yeah. Look, just out of interest, before I say my one, is The Sopranos going to be in your list at all?
I've never watched it.
Yeah, I'm going to. I mean, you obviously will be aware that people are mental about this show.
Yeah. There's two things I've never ever watched that I think people think, what? Sopranos is one, and the other one is Only Fools and Horses. Never watched one episode. I know people are going, whoa, what are you doing? Why have you not ever watched it? It's window shopping to me. I've just looked at it and thought, I don't know if I'd enjoy that. So I've just never bothered.
I mean, the trouble is you get into the territory with something like that. And I love Only Fools and Horses, but I am mindful. You don't ever want to come over as an evangelist for anything. It's very easy to sound like an ex-smoker or an ex-meat eater who's now a vegan and start preaching it's just enough to do your own thing. I think you could get told something is brilliant so many times and you raise expectations to such a level that you might think there's people who possibly look back on Only Fools and Horses thinking, oh, I was laughing every second, and actually they probably weren't. They may have laughed 5 or 6 times during the half an hour because it was funny, and there's some clips are absolute dynamite. But you get to that point, you might think, okay, here we go, here's this show that everyone's been talking about for 30 years, the funniest thing that's ever been made. You might watch the first 2 minutes and not laugh and think, "Oh, okay." Well,
but there's one series I should have put down. I know you watched it. It's Peaky Blinders. I never actually watched it because it's set so far back. I thought, I don't know if I'd enjoy that. I quite like modern stuff, but enough people said give it a go. I think you'd enjoy it. And there's people that I know that have the similar interests to me or whatever. So I watched it. And I was hooked on it from episode 2 maybe. The first episode I was a bit unsure of, but episode 2 onwards, that was it. I binged a lot. But what's on your last? Is it Sopranos? That's your last one then, or
no? I just asked because I just for that exact reason. No, I watched 3. I really tried for that. What you said there is absolutely true. I found out to start with Breaking Bad, I'll always give something more than one. That's why I watched 3 of the Unabomber. I understand that people have got to set the scene. I understand that the first 20 pages in the book might be crap. I get it. That's not a problem. I don't get the old Sopranos thing. I watched 2-3 episodes. Not for me. I've got to be honest with you. I did look at it and think, is this what everyone's been back? But I think people built it up so much. Some things that age well. Some things don't age well. Game of Thrones will age well because it's more or less set 500 years ago anyway. Yeah. It's going to look the same in 30 years. I spoke about Star Trek. The first thing I ever watched Star Trek. It's aged so badly because now CGI, that's so good. You look back there and you look at them try to transport people from ones or 2 spaceships fighting. Oh, that's just nasty. That's nasty graphics, So something's aged badly, and I just think Sopranos aged badly. I look at it and I think, oh, that's just. It just ain't good. I never got it. I don't understand what everyone loves about it. Obviously, I'm mindful that people will pop out in the chat. Can't believe it. Don't like Sopranos. Sopranos is the best thing ever made. You don't even need to write it. I know. I know people think that. My last thing on my list for tonight is The Missing with James Nesbitt, and as something that will rip your heart out and chew you up and spit you out, will not give you what I was gonna. No, I'm not going to spoil. Will not give you what you want. Will not deliver what you think you should expect. Will not. Will rip up the rule book that I mentioned earlier. That's going to do it for you. It's. I would imagine it is really. I would imagine the McCann thing played a large part in whatever before that. Whoever wrote it put his pen to paper. But there are similarities, I guess, along the way, but there are not enough to make it totally separate from that as well. But it is intense. You're with him all the time. You cannot wait for the next scene. Like you said with the Unabomber, that dead scene where he goes back to Xanath, you just cannot wait for the next scene because you are desperate to find out. Yeah. It really is. It's a mystery, and you're thinking, well, I need to know. That's the end of the show. Oh my goodness, right? Okay, well, next one. And he's brilliant. James Nesbitt is, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I've seen this. I've seen something with him in it, and he lived in a caravan. But I don't know if it's The Missing or not. He lived in a caravan. He was very much in a string vest all the time as well. But I don't know what.
You're thinking of something.
I was trying to remember what it was that I've seen him in with a string vest, but he lived in a caravan. But I know who he is. Yeah.
Well, this one's all right because they go back in time, so they deal with it now. So basically, I don't think it's giving too much away because it does it straight away. It keeps on going from the day his daughter went missing. A little girl, hence the reason I say about Madeleine McCann. The day his daughter got missing, and then 3-4 years later, when he's still searching, it's destroyed the relationship with his wife and But his wife's moved on, he hasn't, and he's still, and then he finds a clue. I mean, it's really good, mate. Really, really good. And I often think when people try and jump in time and tell the story from, it doesn't always work. But it does here. It does. It's fine. You never under any confusion. Hold on, which part? No. We're back. We're back in time. We're 4 years ago. This is the day she went missing. Okay, now we're in present day, and it's really well done.
Is any of the 5 you've mentioned like number 1 all time box sets? Is that any of them?
I think there's a lot. I think I can actually talk people out of almost every single one of them. I think. Look, I think if you've got a kid or you've got a younger sister or something like that, the missing is gonna is gonna really pull at your heartstrings. I think Spooks, if is sort of better if you you like your UK stuff and you know the sights of London and stuff like that, and New Scotland Yard, you like all that stuff, it's pretty good. I think Life on Mars, I think it helps to be maybe a little bit older, although it does stand on its own. But I think music's nostalgia. You know that, Geo. A certain music, a certain tune will remind you of a certain point in your life.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's full of it, and it takes you back to being a child, which is really good because that's what they want you to do anyway. You're moving back in time, so but I can understand why that wouldn't appeal to people. I do think Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad. I would have to say Game of Thrones. To just think, and I am aware they didn't go on you might be aware they didn't go on a series too long. Just so as you know, the guy that started writing Game of Thrones started writing it back in the 90s. HBO television company thought, wow, this is brilliant. We can make this into a television series. It went on to become the biggest television series of all time. They eventually caught up with him and the books he's written 5 or 6 books, something like that. And basically it got to the end and they couldn't wait for this genius to finish his last book. So basically what they did, they said, don't worry about it. We'll finish the end of it for you. Honestly, it's like getting Michelangelo to paint the Sistine Chapel and then letting a 5-year-old in with their Crayolas to finish it off at the end, right? And this is why they didn't go on a series too long. They didn't wait long enough until the creative genius had written the final book, so as then they could write their last series, and that's where they mucked up.
Yeah. See, my number 1 all time, I've got no doubt about this. Do you know what I'm waiting to say? I think you do.
Is this the one you're choosing now?
Yeah, it's my all-time number 1.
You're going to say Designated Survivor?
No.
No, you're going to say Homeland?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, oh, here's a surprise.
Money Heist. The Spanish one, the one that you won't watch because it's in Spanish. Oh, this is Gonzo. Series 4 came out. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to mention what happens in series. I'll mention it briefly just because you know what it's about, but I'm not going to say whatever actually occurs in series 4. There's no spoilers here. That's just come out on Netflix 2 weeks ago today, I think. I've not been hooked on something so much. When it first came out, I stumbled across it on Netflix, right? And it wasn't even called Money Heist then. It was called Casa de Papi, which is obviously Money Heist in Spanish. And then I started speaking in Spanish with the English subtitles, and it was about they were robbing a bank, and I thought, I would love this if it was in English. I thought, I'll just play it anyway. I thought, I've watched Narcos with English subtitles, and I got through that perfectly fine. I thought that's something I could have added. I'll maybe do that in the next one, Narcos. So I thought, okay, let's give it a go. Right, I started it. Okay, I start episode 1, and I went. I am not kidding. I watched the whole series back to back, 8 hours. Honestly, I had a Money Heist-a-thon, if you like, sitting there.
A Money Heist-a-thon, I like
yeah, I would not move. I was hooked. I felt like I was in the bank with them. The whole thing's just genius. The characters are unbelievable. Every single...
Are they in a bank for the whole series, the whole first series?
Yeah, the whole series. But it's the way they do it. And like with series 1, I don't mind spoiling too much because you know what it's about now. They go in the bank, but it's a case of... Basically, it's in the second episode. He basically gets all these criminals together, people with nothing in life. He takes them, but they've all got a skill. They've all got something about them. They've all done robberies in the past, or they're all a bit of this. But there's just one guy who's a bit of a genius. He gets them together. He takes them somewhere remote, away from everyone, and he starts teaching them. Right, so he's telling them we're going to break into the bank, and they're all there going, nutter. How are we going to get out? The police are going to come. He goes, we're going to tell the police we're in the bank. So obviously, as a viewer, watching, you're like, what? So you're thinking, I need to know more about this. So then he's going on about how they're going to get out. Oh, it's just unbelievably fantastic. So then what he does, he knows everything what the police are going to do. He's one step ahead of the police the whole time. The whole thing, but I can't explain it. The characters just draw you in. You're then urging... I mean, these are meant to be bad people. They're robbing a bank. But you're then willing them on. You're thinking, F the police. I want these guys to win. But when you're watching it, because it's so clever, it's so well thought, you don't know what they're going to do. If someone goes into a bank with a gun and starts shooting the roof, you know what's going to happen. They're ready to end up in a shootout with the police outside. It's going to happen, right? But this guy doesn't want to use a gun. He's called the Professor. He does not want any of them to shoot anybody. He doesn't want any death. He wants to go in and get the money peacefully and leave. And basically, when they said to him, you're robbing money, he says, we're not robbing money. What we're stealing hasn't been printed yet. The money has not been printed yet. We're stealing empty banknotes. But what we are going to do is print it ourselves, and then we're going to get out. So they're in there for about a week, printing their own money. But what he's done is so clever that they can't go in. The police can't go in for whatever reason. It's just genius. So then the second, that's the first and second series, I think. Then series 3 and 4 come out. Because one of them got caught after they went away with their money. The police caught one of them. But they had a plan. What you didn't know, they had a plan that one of them gets caught. We're now going to go do this to get our guy back. So now they just went and robbed it's like what do you call it? It's like the national money place in Spain, whatever it's called.
Like the Fort Knox, like the Royal Mint.
They've got the gold bars and
the National Reserve. Yeah,
and they keep the government's top secret documents there and stuff in their safe and whatever, their vault and stuff. So they've gone into there to get their person back. And again, you're just hooked. I mean, characters die in it from start to finish. There's characters that die. You think, I didn't want that person to die. Don't die. But they die. So you know, what's going to happen? And you actually think, well, the whole thing's buggered now. I'm not going to enjoy it without that character there because I really like that character. But actually, you forget that person's died because it's so good. The Professor is just one of my all-time favourite characters ever in a series, and it is in Spanish. But what I will say is, please do not watch it with the English dub over it because it's out of sync and it looks a bit stupid. But the Spanish language is what makes it. I think you almost need the passion in their voices, and when he's shouting at them in Spanish, and Jesus, it's perfect. 10 out of 10. Money Heist, unbelievable. And there's another series coming. Don't know when because they've had to stop planning and filming and all that because of the situation of the world. But I can't wait for it at all. It's probably a good another year for me to wait. I'm actually watching a documentary about Money Heist now. I enjoyed it that good. So yeah, it's just, you need to watch it, Gonzo. It's clever. It's the most cleverest thought out thing I've ever seen, ever.
It's funny. It's funny because I'll quite happily read a 600-page book about the War of the Tudors or the Napoleonic Wars or whatever, but pop a sentence up on a television screen. I mean, I think the first time I did see it, it was dubbed as well. And the thing is, it looks good. Say judge a book by its cover, and we said that the one for Money Heist looks good. Oh, Money Heist, look, bank job, great. I mean, it had masks on and stuff like. Oh, this looks a good one. And it started off and it was dubbed, and then it was the woman. She was phoning her mum. And then it cut to her mum, and her mum had loads of armed police around her, so they were obviously monitoring the call. And I got to be honest, I gave that. I don't think I lasted much more than 2 minutes on that Money Heist. I said, no, not a chance. I mean, I was disappointed that it wasn't. Genius. It wasn't in English,
It's genius from start to finish, and most people I've recommended it to have come back and said, love that. Have you got anything else? A couple of people, because I say to them, if I see them on Twitter, someone says, what can I watch? I always say Money Heist. I can't say it anymore now because it's really popular now. It's like #1 trending in the UK on Netflix for the last few days and stuff. So everybody knows about it. When I first started watching it, nobody had really heard about it. It was tucked away. And then when I'm watching the documentary, they were saying they put it on Spain free. It was free. And so it started off with like 4.5 million viewers, and the numbers just dropped off a cliff. People weren't interested. And they said they basically took Money Heist and forgot about it, and then Netflix took it and put it in the international bit of Netflix, put it in international, and they didn't promote it at all. But somehow social media just picked it up and started growing with it, and the characters in it, the actors were saying they had like 10,000 followers. They said every hour they were checking, they were getting 2,000, 5,000 more, another 5,000. They said they're like, the numbers are going up in thousands every day, and they're thinking, what is going on here? What's happening? Then
I know how they feel.
Well, you better jump on the Money Heist because I'm a massive bandwagon with that at the minute. So it's good because now this series, in the documentary, what they were saying was they've now got a lot more money for the series they've just done and we're watching. They've got a lot more cash. So they're saying instead of because there's a scene in like Thailand in the first one where she's in front of a green screen. And then they put Thailand on the green screen. She pretends to. So then, actually, in this series, we flew to Thailand, only for like a 10-minute clip. But they thought, we've got the money now. We're doing this. So they've been going to. They said the hardest part now of filming is people kept turning up. So they're filming outside, and there'd be a crowd there. So they're saying to the crowd, like, you have to be quiet. You can't speak. And there's a window with a reflection. They're saying you're going to have to move because you're in the window reflection. The whole crowd's in window reflection. Get out the way. So they were saying we're struggling to film this series because it's got so big and so popular. My number one all time ever, and I'm not sure anything will beat it for a while, Gonzo.
Well, what you just said was pretty much what happened with Game of Thrones. The first series was so popular. HBO thought, right, okay, we're actually going to start throwing hundreds of millions into this. So where before in the first series and the second series they were talking about battles, or you'd see someone returning back from a battle, they got to the point by the end of it, actually we're just going to film now we can make the battles and we can film it, what do you want, 10,000 men fighting 10,000 men and fire breathing dragons, look, not a problem. So I think you're always gonna get a bit of that when something is popular, it gets some more budget and they can go on. But what always makes me laugh about these things, particularly it's like a documentary, and I don't forget the Tiger King, because that is that's a funny old story. But I reckon a lot of people like the crime channel that's on Sky. The crime and investigation channel. They must be looking at Netflix and thinking, hold on, and looking at like the documentaries you get, like the Ted Bundy tapes. And millions and billions of people watch them. I was thinking, hold on, we've been doing this stuff for years and no one's been watching it. What about our Fred West one, which was excellent? Hold on, what about our Charles Manson one? And so, it is funny. It is. I watch it now and look at trends, and you say how the Money Heist, which is a subtitled program, is trending. It's funny, isn't it, that you wouldn't have thought that there was an appetite out there for subtitled films and documentaries, but there is, because they've been out there from ever.
I've never tried it. Netflix has changed my opinion. I will now be a bit open-minded to watching something in foreign tongue. Prior to Netflix, I would never have entertained it because there's a bit of a risk. If I had to watch something, it would have been on Sky, so I had to set my schedule, 8 p.m. Wednesday night, I'm going to sit down and try this thing in a foreign tongue, and if I don't like it, I've just wasted my whole evening basically. So there was something to lose. If you went to Blockbuster, you had to pay money to find out if you could put up with a foreign tongue. With Netflix, you can decide within 10 minutes now. You can click a button, sit there for 10 minutes, and decide whether you like it or not. Because there was a film on the Norwegian terrorist not long ago. The guy that goes onto an island full of school kids.
Oh yeah, he killed
popping them off.
70 odd people in that.
He sets a bomb off in the middle of Norway. And obviously the place is going a bit mental in the middle of Norway, and then he's on an island shooting kids and stuff. That's in foreign tongue, but I was able to watch that. And the first thing I've ever watched in foreign tongue and enjoyed it was Narcos. So now, because I'm Narcos, I'm now open-minded. As someone popped up, there's something in French that's quite popular on Netflix. Is it called Marseille? I think it's like a politician thing. It's like a politician drama. It's in French, but I've only watched a few series. But again, Narcos changed my opinion on what I can watch, or what I can listen to, if you like. Depends. Do I know any Spanish words? Only puta. That's the only one I've learned.
Well, and you know what Money Heist is in Spanish now, of course.
Casa de Papel.
There you go. Culture.
Something like that. Anyway, give a try. Your homework before we do the next Netflix episode.
No. I've got too many things on standby. I've got the second series of Save Me, which we'll talk about next time as well. I've got Ozark's third series waiting to go. I've got the rest of the series, the most recent series of Walking Dead, which is... I mean, they've gone on a little bit too long, but I've done all the years so far, so I feel almost I have to. But it's not. There's probably better. There's probably better things. And there's a new one. Gangs of London is meant to be coming out soon. I want to look at that, which is on Sky. Yeah, listen. There's many things that I'm going to watch. before I watch that subtitled thing.
You are missing out massively. The people
But
are
I
watching
respect
this.
what you said. I respect what you said, and wouldn't try and talk you down from it. But yeah, yeah.
The people that, to be fair, some people message me saying Money Heist, it's badly dubbed. I can't watch it. So I say, oh no, watch in Spanish. Then they're even like, wait, what? You watch it? It's Spanish. I'm like, yeah, with subtitles, it's fine. I can watch and read at the same time. I don't find it overly difficult. But then I've got an advantage because I'm hard of hearing. I'm used to subtitles throughout my life on TV. So even if there's something in English, I can read it perfectly fine, listen to it, and watch it all in once. So,
well, you had to have it translated because you don't speak English anyway.
I wonder if people translate this. YouTube does offer such a thing, but I don't think it picks up our words very well.
It is funny. It is funny. I would recommend anybody that's bored, just go and click back any one of our random videos. Pick one a year ago, switch the subtitles on, and watch what YouTube thinks we're saying. Make sure you switch it off again, though, otherwise your subtitles will be on for every single video you watch, and that will be quite annoying, unless you're Geo, he likes that sort of thing.
Yeah, hopefully people have enjoyed this episode. I've enjoyed it. I like to talk about stuff like this. There's 9 series for people to go watch, if they haven't already watched them.
10, right?
No, we've had Breaking Bad. We both had Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah.
9.
Well, I'm glad someone's doing the adding up. Well, you can add up and you can read. We've established that.
Yeah, multitasking I'm all right with that. But we've also mentioned at least another time. But we'll maybe do another one. If this one's popular enough, we'll do another one because there's loads of stuff. Ozark's one I want to discuss, but I know you've not watched it, so I'm sort of waiting for you to watch Ozark. We can discuss it without spoiling Series 3, though.
But you'll have to wait. We actually started to. I've not watched it in a long time. Last night we started to watch Seven, Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt, that film. What a great... I'd forgotten all about it.
Is it really old?
1995, I believe.
I'm sure I watched that like a long time ago.
Oh, no, it's fantastic. It is absolutely... I've watched it in ages, and I remember roughly what it was about. Kevin Spacey before he had his collar felt and he started feeling other things other than collars. He was very good at it.
I was watching House of Cards on and off until that came out about Kevin Spacey, and I thought, I don't know if I can watch this now. Put me on a bit.
Well, you haven't done anything, may I just say? So,
I felt like dirty though watching it. Like,
no, yeah, I know, but if the series is still there, it's not, it's not, you're, just same way that if for some reason, someone might have had an old Gary Glitter record in their collection, they've not necessarily done anything wrong just because it's still in the bottom of the record cabinet.
Yeah.
I haven't, by the way.
Either have I. People can put any series you want us to discuss in the next one. Put it below. If one of us have watched it, we'll discuss it. Yeah, we're scratching around for content at the minute, discussing stuff we've already watched. It's quite easy content. Not gonna lie, at least Gonzo did a Google before. I didn't even do a Google. I just jumped on. Thought, let's go. So I'm happy. So do you want to wrap it up? You did the intro. Do you want to do the outro?
I hadn't really thought that far, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think it's what it is. This is just you and me having a chat, really, because obviously slightly more structured. We don't start our conversations by saying, right, Geo, have you written down 5 things? And this is not, but when we do talk about telly, and we have spoken about telly many, many times before and after videos, this is generally how it goes, with a little bit of persuading going on. This is not the first time, my lovely subscribers, that Geo has tried to persuade me to watch Money Heist. But I'll not be swayed. I'll not be swayed just yet. But hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll know how many fun down there are, and we'll find out whether they enjoyed it or not.
Money Heist was at the end of I should have mentioned at the start, really, because the real current thing at the minute. If you go to Netflix right now, tonight, you go to Netflix and look at trending in UK. Money Heist will be 1 or 2. Tiger King will be the other one. Ozark will be 3 or 4. I noticed there's a Big Show thing in there. That's probably for Charlie. I think there's a kids' film with Big Show in it, the wrestler.
Well, that shouldn't be coming up on your suggested things. Don't come up on my suggested things.
It's trending in the UK.
Oh, there is a category, isn't there? Trending in the UK. Yeah.
I do like to skim across it and see what people are watching. But it's Contagion at the minute. Everybody's watching Contagion for obvious reasons.
Why would you?
I don't know.
I watched it years ago when it came out. Is that the one with Winslet and Dustin Hoffman in when they're in the yellow suits?
I've not watched it. I'm not clicking on it.
Why you'd watch that at the moment?
Here we go. Jazz has I wasn't going to use the live chat, but Jazz has asked the question: can you rate the series so we'll have some degree of comparison? We debated this, but we didn't know how to do it, did we? We didn't really know how to.
No, I think I think we'll leave that to you. I mean, we do so many. I think we spend all our time on this channel rating stuff and all the rest of it, don't we?
Money House is 10, though. Just saying.
Yeah, the trouble is, as I said, I looked. Even whilst we were doing this, I've actually scribbled something down. Westworld. I forgot about Westworld. And I think the trouble is, you, as I said at the start, you forget more than you've remembered. So once we finish doing this video, I'll take a look at the comments from this video tomorrow. I dare say other people have written something in there. I think, oh yeah, hold on, I'd forgotten about that. And that's the trouble. It's not like giving player ratings on 11 players you've just seen on the pitch. You're not going to get to the next day and then realise actually there was 50 people on the pitch and you got it wrong, so you're going to have to amend your ratings. So I think maybe at the end, when we've done it all, then maybe we'd pick our favourite one. But that's not going to be much of a surprise because we've pretty much both said it anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, Gonzo, do your outro now. Wrap it up.
Thank you very much for joining us on this unprecedented and not impromptu quite, but listen, hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you want to enjoy a little bit more of this, please do let us know in the comments below. As she always says, if you're new around here, you won't have made it to the end anyway. If you haven't subscribed, you're probably not here. If you're watching it, you already have subscribed. Please do take a look in the link underneath at our Patreon channel if you would like to support us for a couple of pennies. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Gonzo. I enjoyed that.
Thank you, mate.
Catch you in a bit.